I got about 11:05. Should we get going? Okay. Thank you for joining, everybody. My name is James DiAugustino. I'm the director of the Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council. This meeting is part of our periodic certification process that is done by Federal Highway and Federal Transit. They're actually going to be the ones who are doing the majority of the time speaking to you and listening to you today. Again, people who joined early, this is going to be redundant, but everyone is muted on entry. You will be unmuted when you ask to be unmuted by raising your hand, either like this or on the bar under reactions. If you click there, there's a raise hand icon. You click that and we'll be able to unmute you for you to make a question or comment. And if appropriate, we'll try and answer that if at all possible. I'll be honest, there's going to probably be questions we can't answer on the call today. And if that turns out to be the case, we will try and get an answer to you and get back to you as soon as we possibly can. We will try to respond to all your questions immediately, but there might be things you have questions on that we can't answer off the top of our head. Maria, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Jim. I really appreciate it. So this is a meeting for the public and stakeholders in the SMTC metropolitan planning area. This is in relation to the quadrennial certification review that takes place every 4 years. We've already had discussions with Jim and staff, as well as, policy board and planning committee members who joined in during that period of time. So at this point in time, we're really looking to have just a roundtable discussion. Just to start off, my name is Maria Hayford, and I'm here with Federal Highway Administration, also, with my colleague here and co-lead of the certification review, Adam Klein. So I'll let him introduce himself really quickly, and then, other members of Federal Highway who's also joined in the meeting as well. So let me pass this on to Adam, and then we'll go through with other folks that are part of FHWA that are on this call as well.
Good morning. My name is Adam Klein. I'm a community planner with the Federal Transit Administration's Region 2 office in New York City. As Maria mentioned, I'm co-leading the review with her, and we're looking forward to a robust discussion this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam. So we're going to pass this on to Nicole McGrath.
Thanks. Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute myself. Hi, my name is Nicole McGrath. I'm a community planner in the FHWA New York Division office. I'm assisting Maria with this joint certification review, and I was also conducting the bicycle and pedestrian planning, as well as the resiliency portions of this certification review.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm going to move this on to Bobby Ratzlaff.
Good morning. My name is Bobby Retzloff. I am also a community planner. I am in the Minnesota division, which might surprise a few of you, but I've been allowed to sit in with the New York staff and learn how the certification reviews are done. Okay, thank you. So with this, with this roundtable discussion, we're certainly open to any comments that you guys have, but we do have a few questions that we'd like to ask you guys as part of the public, and also the also stakeholders that work closely with SMTC. How you think the transportation planning process is working in the Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council. So we're looking for your input on how the process is working. And of course, you're welcome to provide us with any other kind of feedback beyond the questions that we're asking. But certainly, we want to just have a better understanding from the questions that we have. How well integrated are you in this process? One thing I'd like to ask is that if you do speak, if you have camera access, we would appreciate it if you would be able to turn your camera on. This will allow us to have the most face-to-face discussion that we can have, which is something that would be helpful and useful if you have those capabilities. Do this.
One thing, Maria, I'm sorry to interrupt. My apologies. I just realized there's several people on this call who I think we've never personally interacted with here at the SMTC. At least if we have, I'm unfamiliar with your names, and that's on me, and I apologize. To that, I'm going to ask Megan Vitale to put into the chat the link to our website, which is the About Us link. That'll have, you can learn who the SMTC is. There's a little video there you can watch about who we are and whatnot, rather than take everyone's time and front load this meeting with that. We'll just give you a link for you to be able to watch that at your convenience. I just realized I should have opened with that. I wasn't expecting a lot of new names today, but we have several that I haven't worked with before. So thank you for joining us. Sorry, Maria, my apologies.
No, not at all. That's totally fine. As far as this roundtable is concerned, we understand there's a lot of people, so unfortunately, we're not going to go through every single person who is, who's attending. But if you do speak, please introduce yourself and maybe what affiliation you have, if you have any, or if you're just, you're a resident of the city or the region. That would be helpful as well. So with that, I'm just going to start off with some questions, and I'm going to be alternating with Adam Klein when it comes to, asking these questions. When we ask them, we'll be taking notes. And if there's any questions from you guys, we will try to answer them as best as we can. I'm going to start us off with the first question. And this one is kind of a broad-based question. But if you have any responses, we would be interested in hearing back from you on this. So the first question is, from your perspective, how well do you understand the SMTC transportation planning process?
If anyone wants to answer, I guess you can raise your hand and the reactions button, and we will unmute you. I see no requests to be unmuted. Okay.
Okay, so that was the first question. Adam, do you want to go first?
Yep. Okay, the next question is, from your perspective, how well is the SMTC transportation planning process working to effectively improve transportation in the region?
Yeah, if anyone would like to. Oh, there we go. We got somebody. Jessica, you've been unmuted.
Excellent. Hello, I'm Jessica Lisi. I am part of Focus Greater Syracuse. We've actually worked with SMTC for our Citizens Academy program. I personally wanted to weigh in on how well, the planning towards better bicycle infrastructure and pedestrian infrastructure. I've been noticing that a lot, and I think that's a huge movement towards more sustainable, more pedestrian-friendly cities. So that's something that I have seen from Syracuse that I greatly appreciate, and I'm excited to see more from that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right.
Okay, if there's no other responses, we'll move on to the third question. Are there opportunities for you to provide input on the transportation issues and plans such as the long-range transportation plan and other studies and issues with SMTC?
Anybody like to offer any comment? Oh, we got one. There we go. John, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
So the question was, how are we able to provide input for the transportation issues?
Yes, are there opportunities?
Let me put my camera on. There we go. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
This is as good as it gets. They have quarterly FOAT Forum on Active Transportation meetings that I participate in, and they always appear to listen to my suggestions. But I enjoy them. I think they're useful. So that would be the primary way that I provide input. Before COVID, they would have meetings for different projects or studies that they were doing. And the ones that I heard about that I was interested in, I would go to, and I would provide input there. To answer your first question, I don't really understand the SMTC planning process very well. I do work for New York State DOT. I'm the regional director of operations, but having never worked in planning, I've never been really directly involved with the planning process. I know that I have opportunities to provide input, and I do in those two forums that I spoke about briefly, the Forum on Active Transportation and the when before COVID, when they actually have meetings on different studies that they're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
Okay, the next question. Are there opportunities for people of all ages, abilities, incomes, and races to provide equal access and opportunity for input into the transportation planning process?
Anybody like to provide any input on that item? Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
So there's opportunities, but they're not, as far as I can tell, very well publicized. And frankly, I don't know how you could publicize them better. But when I hear about these forums on active transportation, I'll share them with I like to bike in the city of Syracuse, and I participate in different group rides. So I share them with the people that I know, that I have their cell phone numbers. I'll text them, when the FOATs are, the Forum on Active Transportations are, and things like that. But there's definitely plenty of opportunities, but you kind of have to be a transportation nerd to know about them, really. And I really don't know how you can change that.
Well, I can tell you what we do now, just for everyone's knowledge. I mean, we maintain a mailing list. People give us their information. We include them in our mass mailings, both either physical or email. We do that. We put things on our Facebook page. We put things on our website. If it's a study-oriented thing that has a geographic component, i.e. a corridor or a location, we do hard target notifications to those vicinities. Like if it's on a particular street or a particular portion of a couple of streets, we'll do a much more targeted notification to residents of that area or businesses of that area so that they're aware. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm under no illusions that the initials SMTC are on everyone's tongue in this community. I think if you were to ask people what they mean, they would just be guessing what words could possibly fill those letters in. So yes, I do understand that we are not a well-known entity in our community. I under no illusions of that.
I would hope at least they would be able to guess that the S is Syracuse, though.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Thanks, John. Oh, Jessica's also. Okay.
You should be able to unmute Jessica.
Excellent. So to actually piggyback off of what John said, at least, on the side of the younger generation, and this is, I think, an issue for all different city, county departments, or nonprofit organizations. There is a struggle to get kind of the younger crowd, the young adult crowd, aware of what Syracuse has. especially in the realm of transportation. And I think also, I know, it's focused mainly on the city, but branching out to the suburbs. And that is completely lost on a lot of the suburban areas surrounding Syracuse and the rural areas in the county. Because I think people there's a disconnect, and this is not just for transportation, which is, it's an issue that I think a lot of different groups face between the urban and suburban and rural disconnect. But seeing more of that outreach to those areas, because I know there's people who are, unsure, don't really know, are intimidated by driving in the city. And then if you actually work here, you're fine. But there is that sort of disconnect that I've noticed. But of course, it's not unique to SMTC. Thank you.
We had a couple of latecomers to our meeting, so I just want to make sure everyone is aware that you're muted on entry. When there's a question, if you'd like to speak under the reactions button, just hit the raise hand button and we can unmute you just so that you can participate, just to make sure everyone's aware of that.
Thanks, Jessica, and thanks, John. I agree with you. I mean, getting anyone's attention nowadays for anything specific could be really challenging. But we are definitely interested to see if, if people of all ages, incomes, and abilities are provided equal access. And, hearing your feedback is helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, and I would just add that these don't sound like Syracuse-specific issues, and generating interest and awareness in the transportation process is a challenge nationwide, certainly.
Okay, so for those who just joined, we just asked a question: are there opportunities for people of all ages, abilities, incomes, and races provide equal access and opportunity for input in the transportation planning process? I have a response for that. If you would like to comment, please raise your hand, and and we will, we'll be happy to listen to your response. We'll listen for like a minute, and then if we don't hear anything, we'll just move on to the next question.
Yeah, Peter Kane. All right, Peter, should be able to unmute yourself now.
Okay. Yes, my basic comment being, this is the pandemic, and I see that SMTC has been doing a lot more online outreach, which I appreciate, especially the active transportation stuff, which probably a lot of young people can connect around and see a need for. But at the same time, I'd like to see SMTC do more of that. If we ever get over the pandemic, which we, in some ways we probably won't, but we'll move on, right? If there would be a possibility that SMTC do more regular public meetings, that's something that I could definitely connect with. Thank you.
I'll just offer SMTC's perspective. We're tired of virtual meetings too. We're never going to stop doing them. Once you open Pandora's box and start doing them, we're going to have to always keep doing them. We realize that, but we miss being able to have large public meetings and have a lot of people in a room and be able to talk back and forth and get the synergy that you get in an in-person public meeting that you can't get here.
Synergy, definitely, yeah.
Thanks for your comment, Peter. We really appreciate it. John?
It's me again. This just occurred to me. And like I said, there were definitely opportunities for people of all backgrounds to participate in the input and providing input. Is again, it's difficult to get the word out. But something that just occurred to me, I'm fairly active with the TNT group, the Southside TNT group. I'm a facilitator, but I guess one thing if you might want to do if you want to increase the visibility with city residents of all backgrounds. If you get on the agenda for those meetings, that would give you an opportunity just to give you an idea, just so you can introduce yourself as a group and what you do and the different opportunities you have for providing input and things like that. I know the Southside group is very interested in transit.
When you say group, do you mean like the TNT group, or do you mean something else, John? I'll make sure I understand.
That's what I meant. Miles Neighborhoods today, Southside. I'm with Southside, but there's 8 different sectors.
Yep.
But that would probably be a way to get your name out in front of people from all over the city from different backgrounds.
Thank you.
John, if I could add to that, appreciate the comment. We have actually in past studies over the years, if it's within a particular TNT sector, have done some outreach through there. And we actually do plan on doing that with a few other projects that we're currently working on. But good to hear about that, though.
And John, I'm just for my sake, what does TNT stand for?
Tomorrow's Neighborhoods Today.
Okay.
It's a city government-run community engagement group divided into city sectors.
It's kind of been uncoupled from the city. Like the employees don't. There's only one paid employee. She does not work for the city now. It is primarily funded by the city, though. Her salary is paid by the city, but she's not a city employee.
That's helpful. Appreciate it.
Jessica?
So, while some ideas were kind of going around, it had me reflect on how, someone like myself actually got interested in transportation. And I know, it might be harder to do this. There's always the issue of staffing and training, but trying to give maybe workshops or bringing tours or just kind of public information sessions. Because I think when people don't know, they don't have an interest. I gained my interest because I actually did my master's and lived in the Netherlands and saw a different type of transportation mentality. And that got me really fascinated of, if they could do it there, why can't we do it? And then part of that was actually sitting down, going to the different transportation departments, learning how they brought certain things in. It was an intensive 4-week course, and then I did the master's. But in one session that was just based on transportation, I learned so much, and it made me really fascinated of how to improve what we have here. So educating people, having opportunities, working with schools, being like, this is transportation is the basis of kind of economic vitality for our community. People needing to get to jobs, to businesses, understanding there's other ways than just car-centric forms of getting around, I think, could be a benefit. So maybe working with schools, working with businesses, doing some sort of tour, just to get people informed. And I think that might give them an interest, but that's, yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment.
Abdul Alameen. I'm with the Southside Homeowners Association, and I've been getting, I'm on the mailing list for about 8-9 years. I commute back and forth to Albany, and I compare what we're doing in the Capital District to what we can do in Syracuse. And from my past years' experience working with the members, there's been no minority participation in the decision-making process for the design itself. I really love what you're doing with bike trail on the south side, but most people find out about it after the fact. I do see people like Peter at some of the other meetings I attend before COVID. COVID kind of made it easier to do it on Zoom, because you don't have to travel, but nevertheless, plans are made, decisions are made without having anybody in the planning process. I do urban and regional planning out of Albany. I graduated from University of Albany in regional and urban planning and design and urban policy. And for some reason, members of the South Side said, we didn't know about that. It's right in the magazine. We don't get the newsletter. So we need to establish a better means of communication. This semester, I'm at Vermont Law School on advocacy, and I would like to work with you all so we can inform people that have been, I don't want to say systemically excluded, but when I look at the boards, there's never a person there representing the South Side. So hopefully we can make some changes, because every 4 years you all are re-evaluated. And it'd be really good for me to get back to say, yeah, Syracuse is on board. Syracuse is on board. They're doing good work, especially with dissatisfaction by a segment dealing with the I-81 design process. They said it took place, but they didn't give us a choice in the decision making. They said either pick chocolate or vanilla. I said, we're at Baskin Robbins. Are there any other choices? They said, well, this is what we came up with. Who was on the planning committee? Who did the design? Because I like what you're doing, but at least have the people included so they can have some input.
Just for my understanding, are you referring specifically to the I-81 corridor project with the replacement of the viaduct? Is that what you're referencing, sir?
Yes, I've been monitoring that for the past 10 years.
Okay.
And the TNT didn't do a good job. They gave them a choice, but they never allowed them to be a part of the process. I know numerous professionals of color that could have been invited in the decision-making process. They give them the results afterwards, but not when the decisions are being made, because, again, I'm a sustainability consultant. And we should invite people early, so when everybody's on board, it makes a project go smooth. You don't need any bumps in the road after a project's already been developed. So by including people, that's where that whole issue about diversity and inclusion is so important. To have people there, professional people there, that can have some input, all of a sudden we can do what some of the cities are doing in other parts of the country. And again, Syracuse has opportunities no other city I've seen that. I really love what we're doing with the bike trail. And that's a good starting point, because people can come and visit, feel welcome. They can go back, say, hey, Syracuse is a nice place to visit. We want them to spend money. We want them to come to Syracuse and spend their money. We want them to go to the south side, east side, west side, feel safe, feel comfortable. Say, you know what? Syracuse is a good city. I have to get T-shirts when we have a winning season to everybody I know in Albany. So, I'm really promoting Syracuse. We're in the heart of New York State, and we have some beautiful economic opportunities. We're a perfect tourist destination with Harriet Tubman's house just 30 minutes away. The way in which we do our transit, we could similarly do what they do in Albany, where they have a bus line, make specific stops from Albany all the way to areas in Schenectady. And this is how they get that density they need in order for the transit system to work. You gotta have capacity. And when you bring people in where they can come out and get to the bus station, train station, going, hey, stop in Syracuse. It only takes 15 minutes to get down to the Onondaga reservation. Nation, not reservation. But there's so many things that we can offer if we just kind of have people at the table at the design process. All it takes is a little bit extra effort, because Syracuse has an economic opportunity. Plus, Joe Biden graduated from Syracuse University. That's a good place to start. Whether you're Republican or Democrat, money is money. And anything that improves the economy is good for everybody. So that's my comment. And I really look forward to working with you guys over the next 8 weeks while I can advocate in Vermont for Syracuse. So I look forward to getting with all of you and making sure that we don't have any bumps after we got a good project out there. That's my comment.
Thank you, Abdul. Appreciate your comment.
John?
Another suggestion, I just tried to find, does SMTC have any kind of a Twitter presence?
No, we do. We have Facebook and YouTube that we use right now. We actually do not maintain a Twitter account right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, certainly people that are on Twitter that do a lot, there's a lot of discussion about changing, from a car-centric transportation system to a less car-centric transportation system. I think that if, you got on there and, got your message out that way, took a look to see the kind of people that are talking on it, like the big one is War on Cars. And then there's another one in the Salt City. There's a lot of transportation discussion in there. And, I think that might just get, if you put these type of meetings on there, you get people that are interested in this topic anyways to see them. That's just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, so the next question is something I think we've kind of gotten into a bit already, but what are some things that work well? And then we'll actually go to another question afterwards, which is what areas do you think can be improved? So let's start off with the first question. What are some things that work well?
Hi. Yes. So a couple of things that I feel SMTC does very well. The literature it produces is very user-friendly, very to the point. I know actually Megan Vitale presented at Citizens Academy, which I think is actually another positive, being willing to go out in the community and having staff that has gone out and spoke at these different sort of programs that aim to educate the community is a big one. But she also brought some great literature, some different, deliverables, I guess. And I read through them and they're very well done. I think that is a huge benefit. So when people, have questions or need to learn a bit and they're interested, there are ways you can go about doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh, you are unmuted.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having this meeting, having everybody here to kind of talk about this. Just regarding, first off, I represent the Syracuse City Parks Department in the planning division, landscape designer and planner up there. But I also am a cycling advocate and help organize and participate in numerous bicycling group rides and events across the city. So on top of that, I'd just like to say that SMTC has done a fantastic job with their graphic production. To piggyback on what Jessica was saying with their literature, I've always believed that graphics and visuals have always been one of the key forces to stimulate change. And SMTC has done a fantastic job with producing the types of maps, illustrations, and just the literature needed to communicate different ideas, projects, and analysis of various routes and corridors. I go to them as Syracuse Parks employee. I go to them often and steer people that way just because of how well I think they're done, and I'll continue to do so. So I will, I'll leave it there. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. John?
Yeah, the newsletter is very well done. I read it, whenever I get it. And the other thing that they did, I'm pretty sure you guys did this, the huge fold-up project description, the I-81 project that had the different special parts to it in the maps. Was that an SMTC document, I believe?
We did one, and New York State DOT has done the most recent one. The most recent ones that have come out have been straight from New York State DOT.
Oh, we did a great job. Yeah, I remember seeing one from SMTC. That was good too. But the most recent one was, I don't remember much anymore, but the most recent was excellent. The SMTC's also put out really good bike maps, also bike route maps. And I don't know if I have the most current one or not, but they're very good.
And the latest version is 2020. So if you don't have it, let us know. We'll mail you some.
Yeah, I'll stop by.
That was good.
Yeah, I don't think I have 2020. That's all I got.
Thanks, John.
I would just like to agree with the two comments. I think so far that two or three that your documentation has proved well, that it's easy to read and to the point, and graphically gets to the point as well. Some good graphics. What I appreciate is, I think, as I'm restating myself a bit little, is that in the past year or so, you've engaged in some online stuff with a lot of immediate replies on questions. And I think this is possibly the best thing SMTC can do, is get back to people with specific user concerns and provide immediate, what is your answer? What are some possible answers? And this works really well with issues like active transportation, but I think any transportation planning in general, and this allows people to get a feel for what SMTC can and can't do to begin with, and what's worth raising as a topic, and how do we discuss these things, and just to get a better idea of the lay of the land. And so I think that a back and forth is absolutely essential. So I'm glad SMTC is doing that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Peter, just a follow-up question on your response. What other areas were you thinking about for, just to have the opportunity to provide input, with that online and kind of immediate opportunity to do so?
Well, for example, the one thing I think about often is public transportation, where we have this huge challenge ahead of public transportation during and after the 81 project, and just our existing dilemmas with that it's a kind of landscape of policy fragmentation. There's Centro, there's SMTC, there's DOT, there's different agencies and people who do different things. But really, it does all come together, and to a user on a street, to somebody who's waiting for a bus at a bus shelter, or any number of other combinations, such as private bus runners, bus to ride works, ride to work companies, and so on. I think user feedback becomes an essential way for people to know what can we ask for, what is achievable for our region, what can we do with public transportation, and so on. So that would be my example, and how that can link with the active transportation network and so on.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, so there's no other questions or responses on what are some things that work well. And I know we've kind of gone through some of these things already, but if there's anything in addition to it, what are some things that that you think can be improved?
Okay, Jessica?
I kind of restated or said this earlier, but to kind of restate this again and, just to get people, I mentioned the graphics, the literature, it's great, but the issue is trying to get people to read it already, to sign up. And this, again, not a unique issue for SMTC or Syracuse. And, but how do we get people, excited or at least informed about transportation and all the various issues. So I think just, programs that might have that community outreach to get people excited before they can even become educated is, or educated and excited at the same time is something that I think will really benefit. And again, it's definitely not unique. But yeah.
Thank you, Jessica. I agree with you. It is not a unique issue. And, certainly if we can get people excited and educated about transportation, I think that, I think that would be very useful for, better input on, and developing the community for transportation itself. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not hearing anything in addition to what's already been provided. At this point, we want to kind of open up the floor and see if anybody has any questions or, any other thing that they want to provide input on in comments for this roundtable. We're actually at the end of our questions here. So at this point, if you have any other comments you want to provide, any questions that you might have, we are listening and, we want to hear from you guys. Okay, Jessica?
Hi. So, kind of, this is more of an idea or, something I've been excited to promote, not just with different, transportation, but other groups, perhaps, programs. I mentioned programs that do tours or education, but maybe collaborating with other cities, other countries, to have like a webinar, to have some sort of, especially now with Zoom, it's so easy to say like, okay, we're grabbing somebody from a different type of city, a different country or something, and to talk to people about this is what they've done, this is what we can do. Because I think it broadens people's perspective, their mind, broaden kind of the horizons of this is possible. Amsterdam and most Dutch cities were actually exclusively car-centric for a very long time until they were like, this needs to stop. And they just did it first, And I think that's such a great way to kind of frame the issue of it's not impossible. It's not, we can do it. Syracuse, is already doing so much. And it's a long process. I think that was a whole thing with 81 too, of it's going to take a while, but it can get there. And there's so many brilliant minds behind it that I think that's just one example of ways to get people excited of we can have so much for this city and it can do so much good. So maybe collaborating with cities and that have done that to present on that. So that was just an idea. But thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate your comment. Julie?
Julie, you're unmuted. Oh, maybe not. Hold go to Josh.
Sorry, a little confusion right there. I just have a question regarding, and I guess also piggyback from what Jessica was saying regarding outreach and how to encourage people to be more experienced with a lot of the issues that SMTC advocates for. And I guess that is like the entire issue of experience. And that's how can SMTC put a lot of people into the position where they can experience some of these issues? Like I've been seeing this TikTok trend lately of people on bicycles, on a stationary bicycle in a bike lane, or a bus driver in a bike lane on a bicycle, now experiencing what a bus feels like going by them at 40 miles an hour, or what a car goes by them at 30 miles an hour. And they create like these videos on it just to show that like it's really a scary experience and people's reactions are always different. So is there a way for SMTC to maybe do tours, or to, you know, hey, we're having a bus ride of members, you know, or we're doing a bicycle tour or something like that, just to get people more involved with alternative transportation and the reactions that a non-driver would have from a, I guess, scary situation?
Thank you.
Thanks for your comment and your question. I'll actually defer to SMTC for that. But we do on the federal level, we do pay for outreach and any kind of outreach. Different types of outreach methods of doing it. And we're certainly looking for innovative ways of reaching out to all different people groups. So.
Julie, you're unmuted now. Can you speak? We're not hearing you, Julie. You might want to, if you want to try communicating through the chat, we could maybe get your question and comment out that way.
Yeah, I did send her a chat. She said that she was trying to unmute, and I'm not sure why. Maybe something's going on with her microphone.
If you type us something through the chat, we'll read it to the group. While you're doing that, I'll go to John.
So another way to get SMTC in front of people, with the I-81 project, for different community gatherings, I'm thinking specifically of like the Westcott Cultural Fair that they have every year, and also the Arts and Craft show that they have downtown every year. They would set up a table there. My guess is that, you would get people that probably have no awareness at all at SMTC. At least you get that in front of them. Maybe some of them stop, ask questions. If you had your newsletter there, you have an opportunity for them to sign up for your newsletter. I think that would be a good way of attracting people that wouldn't ordinarily be drawn to SMTC. Just a thought.
That's good. Thank you. Yeah, we've tried some of those in the past. We haven't done them recently, so it's probably a good idea to revisit those ideas. So thank you.
So Julie says she wanted to say that SMTC does a really nice job of doing specific outreach for individual studies, but those don't seem to be well represented at this meeting. Generic meetings like the FOAT meeting have good attendance for people who wouldn't normally be transportation study participants, but still have concerns or interests.
Yeah, that's a good thing to point out. I mean, I think it's the smaller scale the issue, the more parochial the issue, the more participation we get. I always find it very amusing that some of the biggest participation we get is looking at something as small as a sidewalk in some one neighborhood, and we can get 100 people who have interest and comment and showing up at those meetings. Where big long-range transportation plan meeting where you're looking out 25 years for big picture visions, you get 7 people maybe. So it's just people can relate, I think, to things that are impacting them more directly. And I think you're taking time out of your life away from your family and your activities, and I get that. And so you prioritize things that are more likely impacting you personally. So that's an obstacle we need to try and figure out how to work around and make them engage in both those type of things.
Megan, can you make sure that Julie's comment is sent over to us as well? Thank you.
I'll get you, Peter.
Peter?
Oh, I was saving this. I wasn't sure where to put this comment, and I'm not even sure how to state it. But one thing that came out of the past 2 years is that, well, there's often these bananas come in bunches. We had the 81 planning, which occupied most of our bandwidth, as it were. But then at the same time, we had Amazon warehouse, Liverpool, and so on. So this is just an issue that I see sometimes happen with SMTC. And this is to say that by and large, like SMTC did it great as far as I'm concerned with their initial 81 study back until I think it was 2013, as John was mentioning. But what happens is sometimes is you're in a politically sensitive position, and I'm not sure, but I could be wrong, but I looked through your studies and there was no study of the Amazon warehouse. Am I correct in that?
You are correct. We were never involved in the NEPA process or the analysis for that. That was a county-run economic development project that was run primarily by Onondaga County. We did not really have any significant role in that process at all.
Okay. Yeah. And again, this is not to blame SMTC, and it's a tricky question, but it's just the Amazon warehouse obviously impacts Liverpool. And I've heard some valid criticisms that it's wiped out a few bus stops. That I've been to Liverpool. I've seen the traffic there, and it's absolutely, it's a torrent. I mean, I feel for the Liverpool residents who are trying to walk through there. And so I'm just wondering if there's some kind of thought about, I mean, just given the political sensitivity, that's the county doing something, and you really don't have jurisdiction, if there's a way to plan around that or to enter into that conversation in any way.
Well, we try. I can speak to what I can speak to, and that is, if a municipality, city, county, state wants to do something that's in their purview and it doesn't involve the SMTC federal funding process, they don't have to involve us necessarily. So there is, and that's kind of what happened with that project. That was a very fast-tracked economic development project to get a lot of jobs to our community, and very successful at doing that. But it did not go through any of our typical planning or analysis processes that we do here at the SMTC, and did mostly, I think, because it didn't involve any leveraging of federal funds for any of their any of the associated improvements that were necessary, and actually minimal improvements were found necessary for that project. So I think that's kind of why. Now, that being said, going forward, the fact that now it's part of the existing condition will go into our long-range transportation planning, defining our model, defining the impact that has in our community. But now you're right, that now it's after the fact, it isn't before the fact. But sometimes, we can't stop or control our member agencies from doing what's in their own purview of doing on their own. So it's worth noting that. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I just generally as a comment for the federal people that it's something that comes up. Yeah, I'm sure they're aware of it from other places. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate your comment and your feedback on that. We actually did have the discussion about Amazon during our discussion with the staff, so we're aware of the situation.
There was an item put in the chat by, did that go to everybody, Megan, or did that just go to? That was just to me, I think. Okay, so I'm going to read the chat that came in from Josh. Basically, in short, a bike lane advocacy group teamed with a bus operator to show people who don't ride bikes what the experience and feeling was for cyclists when a speeding car or a large bus was driving by them. It was to promote separated bike lanes and how they make cyclists feel safer. Thank you. And I'll make sure that gets sent to you, Maria, with all the rest of the chat comments.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Any other comments? Any other, anything else? Any other questions you might have? Okay. If not, we both Adam and I are taking in written comments as well. So for any reason you want to provide us with any written feedback, or if you want to contact us directly, we will put our email address in the chat pod. And then for anyone who wants to actually write us, and if, say, for instance, you want to reach out to us, just send us an email and, send us your contact information. Yeah.
Just to remind everybody, this item has been streamed live on our YouTube channel and is going to be archived there for everyone to watch at your viewing pleasure.
Okay, and I want to thank everyone again for participating in this roundtable discussion. And, I certainly want to thank Jim and Mario and Megan for hosting the virtual the virtual platform, and also really appreciate everyone's feedback that for the transportation planning process in the SMTC region. So thank you again.
Thanks.
Thank you to everyone for their feedback and for the discussion.
Maria, before I disconnect, can I just ask you, were you able to successfully hold those meetings yesterday with our planning and policy chair? Did that all work out okay? In the sense that you were able to hold the meetings.
Yes, we were able to hold the meetings, and we appreciate you setting those up for us. We appreciate that.
Good. All right. Well, I'm going to jump off. Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. Thank you again.
Thank you.